Hey YouTube, what is up? How is everybody doing today? I hope your days are going good, and your lives are going even better than that. We are going to be jumping into human nature, into the full review, the full lyrical breakdown, the full musical breakdown, and my overview right at the end. So, I'm going to try and not speak as fast as I would normally, as I'm going to try to break everything down into a point where it's understandable. There's going to be lyrics on the screen, like above me or around me somewhere. And just to kind of let you know where we are and what part of the song we're analysing and everything like that. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. And we're just going to jump straight into the lyrics. Musically, we'll do straight after the lyrics. But lyrically, this album is a complete masterpiece. The very basics of the album are based off nature, social media, intelligence, death, dreams, human perception, evolution, religion, and decomposition. If you aren't getting that, I'm going to go through everything and kind of try to break down exactly what each part of the songs mean and why they work the way that they do. The only one that I'm not really going to analyse as much is music, because in all honesty, it's more of an instrumental opening rather than anything else. It's the natural forms of nature's music. It's not meant to be music in the sense of like a human experience. It's meant to be music in terms of a nature's experience, how nature sings around us, how birds fly around and make music, and how the grass and the trees and everything all have their own lives and their own frequencies and their own kind of expressions. And how following nature's journey is so very, very important towards everything that we go through as a human experience. Whether we go hiking, whether we go into nature, if we don't, and how we should go into nature and enjoy nature's beauty. And that's just basically what music is about. Music is beautiful in terms of the way that it's composed, because it's a very much instrumental piece apart from the ending. It's a very, very cool, but I'll go much more into detail into music very, very soon. But still, I'm going to move on now. Now we're going to go on to our first focus song, which is going to be Noise. The main basic things is that it's focused on social media and electronics and ignoring the planet, ignoring art, ignoring everything like that. So lyrically, we're going to go bit to bit to bit to bit to bit, and hopefully I'm not going to make it too confusing. So we're going to start here. The lyrics go: crave the machine, revere the screen, zoom in for flack and misery, bleed some pixels. That just basically goes on to our reliance on technology and phones and computers in general, and how we're just ignoring everything on the planet, and how we're just like so focused on social media and so focused on things on the computer that we're forgetting about all the other things that happen in our lives. Then the next lyrics go: shoot yourself, pose for the dead, have a near-life experience in a hot air matrix. And basically, to break it down, it's you would do anything for fame or to be noticed on the internet. You would do anything to gain popularity. You would pose for the dead, as in like they're saying that the people in the comments are dead, as in like they are people who you've never met, people who you've never known, and you're posing for them and wanting their attention and wanting their love and their money, and just to become popular in that sense. Now you are a star, vain avatar, feeding the beast in your loud ego land. Basically means that you're being extremely, extremely vain, that you're only focusing on yourself, you're only focusing on your own experience, you're only wanting to feed the viewers, you're only wanting to make the viewers happy, you're not caring about your own physical well-being, you're not caring about your own physical stature and how all of those things affect you. You're literally only focusing on that and gaining money and interest and power and fame and so on and such forth. You have become a tool of a tool, digital ghouls telling you to shut up and dance. It's saying that you are a tool, that because you focus so much on the social media aspects and on whatever aspects that you dance for, you know the saying, dance monkey dance. That's basically what it is, where you're doing anything for your viewers to make sure that they're happy, even at the cost of your own self-worth and your own self-value. And then we go into the chorus, which is noise. From a sunless world, your mirror is black, only a copy stares back. At a slave of brave new world, noise to decoy the human voice. Brain insomniac, paranoiac, endless noise. As in, you are not being true to yourself, you're just a ghost of how you are meant to be. As the love of people who you've never even met are becoming a part of you and are becoming your whole way of being. You know, you're not really being true to yourself, you're just being a complete avatar away from your actual real life persona, and you're just becoming something completely different. You really wanting the love of people you will never meet, or probably will never meet, depending on how you use social media on YouTube and that kind of thing, and how the human voice is missing, and it's only typing and text and everything like that. So it's just saying that we're so away from our basic humanity from speech that typing and texting is now the main norm. Even for me, on a personal level, I would rather text than talk to somebody. You know what I'm saying? So even though I do speak a lot doing YouTube, I guess this is kind of like speaking to me really bad. Either way, please love me, see how I bleed, please endure, I have such empathy in me. This is just wanting love from strangers for damaging yourself in order to gain attention and love and profit and power and everything from people on the internet. And it's just an extreme example of how a lot of people are on their social medias and how they are on Twitch and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and so on and such forth. Hum noise, hum, beautifully numb, tapping the quiet air to have a meaningful noise. Hum, beautifully numb, tapping the quiet air to have a meaning. As in, it's just basically to try to find meaning in what you're doing. That's just the basic aspect of what those lyrics are saying, isn't it? Because you're so focused on social media and because you're so focused on everything else, you're just literally trying to find a full-on meaning between why all of this is happening the way that it is, and trying to give your life a meaning, even though you're basically just giving your soul to your viewers. By a carrion, sad hologram, lost in the maze, the real and human feel. How human feelings are not even needed anymore. How we're all becoming a hologram, a different kind of way of being. How human interaction is not the norm anymore. The norm is like speaking on Skype, speaking on Discord, speaking on social media, on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all of those things. How our humanity is being completely lost and is being completely construed away from us. And that's exactly how human nature is changing because of social media. And then we're going to finish off noise with the sunset is free from this deity. The earth has a real voice. Go out and get it. How nature is beautiful and is meant to be experienced on every level as humans. The earth is beautiful. The earth has so much to do with it. It has all kinds of sounds and beauty and things you can go and explore and experience, and we don't. And that's the whole meaning of noise, is the fact that we as humans don't experience nature anymore. We just have so much else that encompasses our mind, and that breaks everything apart from how maybe we were meant to be back in the days. But we're all evolving as humans. We are all improving our technologies and improving everything else that is about us. And in all honesty, I honestly have no problem with social media. I understand completely where Tumas is coming from lyrically, and yeah, man, I can completely understand why he feels the way that he does. The video does a very good job of explaining the lyrics. If you watch the video, it's too nice. It explains it extremely well. And so we are 9 minutes in and I've just done the second song. Well, this is going to be a long fucking review. Either way, so we're going to move on to Shoemaker. Shoemaker is a very interesting song. It has two different meanings. The first one is the most obvious, and it's a tribute to Eugene Merle Shoemaker, who is an American geologist, and he founded, or co-founded, the field of planetary sciences, and he also discovered, or at least discovered with other people, the comet Shoemaker-Levy 9, which was a comet that collided into Jupiter and was really big in the media around 1994, when I was about 4 years old. And so it was televised around the world, and he studied all kinds of craters and different kind of meteors and everything that have impacted the Earth and in space and so on and such forth. He got killed, unfortunately, in a car crash in Australia, but his ashes were brought up to the moon, and that's why it's so important that he did so much for the sciences. That's why Tumas is kind of paying homage to him. But that's not the meaning that I'm the most interested in. That's just a basic overview of the guy that the song is partially based around. The second meaning is much more interesting, at least to me. It's based around intelligence. If you don't get it, I'm going to try to explain it in the lyrics as best as I possibly can. Like, each part of human nature has a different part of the human nature. We started off with nature, with nature's music. Then we went into social media. Now we're going into intelligence, and we're going to start with the lyrics. Now you've been tucked in for eternal earthrise and wonder, a sailor through aeons. This just means that you are at the point of death. How everything is just because how you've been sailing through aeons and aeons and aeons, and everything is just at the point of death. The story unheard, howling at the earth, yours, the whole graveyard of heavens. A ship that sailed home, the story, the thoughts, the intelligence, coming home to the other's mind and spread forwards. As in, intelligence is not just a singular process, it's a way that intelligence moves from person to person and evolves and grows as we learn more and more and more and more and become more intelligent in the process. You were with us, face of the night, singing through the morn for mankind. I want to sing with you, all of mankind singing with you as your findings expanded their mind, as in how, because of what people discover, we get the information spreads out worldwide and every person learns it. And so it drastically increases their intelligence and it spreads across the earth as if it was a virus. But not really a virus, you know what I'm saying. We are coming to join you, hope revived for a lifetime, to rekindle the human spark, in love with the nights. All humans die, of course we do, but their intelligence spreads more and more and more, just like I said. Intelligence spreads outwards and outwards and outwards and outwards, till every part of the planet is infected with the intelligence. And when he shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with the nights and pay no worship to the garish sun. An amazing way of saying that his ideas are being cut out from him and are being spread out like stars across the night sky. The night sky being the human brain, and how everything is just spread out and is just basically making intelligence spread out across the entirety of the planet. If you know where I'm going with this, and that's the very last lyric that I'm going into with this, it's interesting. It's very much about intelligence. It's also a massive homage to Shoemaker, but the very last one where he's cut out into stars, this was written for him, I'm pretty sure. I know it says here it is from William Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet. I don't know how accurate that is, but I know that was engraved on his urn. That's literally, you know, the urn when he died, when he was cremated. That was put onto his urn to try to like say that, as it's a very pretty quote, and it definitely suits him because of what he studied and what he was really passionate about. I love how deep the lyrics are for this one. It's just literally extremely interesting to see how Tumas has two different meanings, how it's towards a guy but it's also towards intelligence in general, and it just literally allows for us to have so much more about us and how intelligence spreads across everybody. It's so very true. If we go back 100 years compared to where we are now, it just kind of extremely resonates, if you know what I mean. We are going to move on to Harvest. Harvest is death, as many of you know. We're just going to jump straight into the lyrics, man. The lyrics will help explain it way better than I could just trying to do it off the top of my head, man, so let's just jump in. My harvest will come, a tiny valorous straw, among the millions facing to the sun. I will pause before a man whose path has just begun. Something unsung our way comes. My harvest will come, or my death will come. A tiny part among the millions and billions facing the world, the sun. Death pausing between someone's life and between someone's life who has just begun. As in, death pauses in between where you are like between birth and death. In essence, the quaternary code gave mankind a rose so we could see the beautiful day. The strange peace of storm hovers over crops, and a child's face aglow before the scythe. Now death is coming for everything. Death comes for all things, not just humans, animals, plants, trees, humans, everything. Everything dies, everything has a time to go. How it takes children before their time, how they hover over the crops, meaning humans in general, how hovering over like crops mean humans basically, or like some kind of sentient being that has like a life, that has like an energy that lives, and how death views these as crops, and how when it reaps, it harvests the crops, if you know what I'm saying. During the harvest of 100 fields, hearty and tame, or going back to one single grain, offer light to the coming day. Inspire a child, water the field, surrender to the earth. The harvest meaning death and everything going back into one place, to the earth, and to offer light to one's yet unborn. In essence, how when it says water the crop, it means when you have children, that you harvest the crop, that you water the crops because you have children and you give birth to a next generation. As your life ends, you know that your bloodline and that your way is carried on through your children. And that's extremely, extremely true. It's a very, very amazing way of seeing it. They have beauty beyond all poetry, but choose a silent misery. The deeper their sea, the less remains. They will find the pretty words and tame flocks to herds. There is that, or a carousal of dare. They have all of nature, all of beauty, yet most of us choose to live within a silent misery within all of our heads, living a life of words. Their bodies breaking down in the end, taming the flock, as in killing off the old and sick. Which is very true. When we tame the herd, it just means that when we get old or when we get sick, we die. We just completely live inside of our heads. Mostly we don't really experience things like, we don't have like a shared consciousness with anything. We just live inside of our own heads and we're trapped by it, we're stuck with it. And it just literally makes everything true. How our bodies completely just, in the end, everything breaks down and we break down back into the earth, we die. We get cremated or we get buried and then we either rot normally or we get burnt to cinders. During the harvest of 100 fields, hearty and tame, all going back to one single grain, offer light to the coming day, inspire the child, water the field, surrender to the earth, arrive alive. It's all coming back to death in the end, inspiring children before we go, watering the field by having children once again, and having our children alive as we pass on from this world and move on to a completely different plane of existence, or at least back into the earth to be rotting away within it. I love Harvest, man. It's a very, very good lyrical song. It has a very deep meaning of death built into it, and if you really analyse it, you can really see how it's all going a bit from how you're reaping children early sometimes. If children have cancer, if children have other things, how death comes for them, how the old and the sick, and how we inspire our children and our lifeblood, and how we go between everything in order for our existence to continue onwards, and how death comes for us all, which in all honesty is truly amazing lyrically. It's a very, very deep meaning. Like I said, man, this album is a lyrical masterpiece. It has so much lyrical content based on it. It's quite insane. We're going to move on to Pan. Pan, in basic terms, means fairy tales. If you hear Pan in the lyrics in any of the songs, which you do, of course, it means fairy tales, it means imagination. Pan just means your imagination. Pan, shortened for Peter Pan, if you see where I'm going with this. So, We're going to jump straight into the lyrics. Once there was a silent canvas, sleeping stories unimagined, birth of what ifs, hope and wonder. Winds will be named, words will shelter. Before anything we had no canvas, no stories, and only pure possibilities of things that could come to pass and be. Before anything we didn't have books, we didn't have art or stories or things that could inspire us to do better in our world and in our lives. Then something wicked their way came, showed a way to the great escape, evoked the words, sparked the brain, an ape in awe before a door. An ape in awe before a door of thought and imagination, learning to create, sparking our brains in order to come up with things from our imagination, learning how to write and put things down on paper, and how that sparked everything in our imagination. Imagine how many books there are today in the world, and how when you read books, you go into a state where you can literally picture the books inside of your own head, and that's exactly what this is talking about. To Labyrinth, to Keystone Earth, to Fallen Stars, to There and Back. Our imagination's travelling, that's all that means. That just means that depending on what we're reading or what we're envisioning or what we're seeing towards any kind of entertainment or things, whether it be books or music or art or any other kind of thing that makes your imagination work. How we travel aeons through the stars, how we go through different worlds and different places, just within our own minds, and that's just how powerful our minds are. We are the writers of another way to be. We are the writers of whatever we cry home. We can write another way to be, imagine a different life to lead, and completely imagine it within our own minds, which is what I've been saying since the beginning. As in, we are literally imagining everything within our own minds, and we can live as many lives as we want to, based on that one simple fact that we are sentient beings and our imaginations are so vivid and so vast that we can experience so many different things just from the words on a page. A moment alone with the unbeknown, reset the world, imagine home, a primal need to touch the stars, only way there to enter. How our imaginations have allowed us to touch the stars and the moons. How we reset our worlds within our own imagination and we make something completely new from it. Like, if we didn't have imagination, we wouldn't have touched the stars, we wouldn't have touched the moon. We wouldn't have had the thought, or the experience, or the imagination to work out how to travel up into space. We wouldn't have had that inspiration from books and words of how it could be like when we get there, from people who have never been there. And honestly, most of us have never been there. Only a few select people in the world have been that high. Imagine music, dance, illusion, tales of dust of man in the moon, the sea lady, snow, glass, apples. It is stories that built cathedrals. All of these are stories or fairy tales that we've heard as children, and how it inspired us to create and build massive buildings and to build the world how we see it, because we imagined it and we made it possible in order to do so, if you know what I'm saying. To lose yourself, to find who you are, follow your tail, remember your name, enter the woods, Tir Nanak, and bring back the good. It's where you're losing yourself to your imagination and envisioning something completely new from it. Everything is imagination. Everything is like that. Everything is just pure imagination and pure, not really fairy tales, but just pure imagination. And that's just part of our human experience, part of human nature, as it were. A pale blue theatre stage, a feast of beautiful tragedy, wonderful fantasy. The play is yours to write, yours is to live. Ready the night by a playwright. The way it's sung gives it a very much Alice in Wonderland or fairy tale theme or fantasy view coming from it. It's purposely done that way, as it's trying to make you think of how it was when you had fairy tales when you were a child, or if you went to go see them in operas or in musicals or in plays, and how it's all sung in that very playful kind of way, and it just literally explains everything. How we just use our imagination to make everything new from it. Every part of the lyrics is based on our own imagination, our own experience from our own imagination, and how that all comes together to make our human experience different but valued because we can imagine and we can build from that, and we have no limit. Our imaginations give us no limit because we have free thought and free thinking and everything else like that. Pan is beautiful, man. In terms of its lyrics, it's just fucking ridiculously beautiful. We're going to be moving on to How's the Heart. How is the Heart is based on human perception and how we view different people. And it also focuses on Floor joining the band and a few other things. We're just going to see how we view people lesser than us, how we view people who are exiled, and how we exile people, and how we just literally destroy people who are a little bit different from us sometimes. Moving into the lyrics, we see a mother with no child. We meet a stranger, poor exiled. How is the heart while it still beats? Asks a no one, another John Doe. This just shows how we view people who are less fortunate or are different from ourselves, how we view the homeless on the streets, how we judge them, how we view people we've never really met, and how we destroy or ridicule people in essence. Sorrow hides well in your shell, a fellow man with hurt to spare. Dear one, here I am to share the fear, an act of kindness without an amen. How we judge and belittle people, we never really give kindness like we should, and how we don't need to give an amen as an act of thanks. How religion tries to say we give an amen towards everything when we try to be good to other people because that's based on their faith, and it shouldn't be that way. Human kindness should be something different, how we should not judge people the way that we do. And we shouldn't really be as belittling as we are to a lot of people. In all honesty, we as human beings kind of are very, very judgmental, and we just literally belittle so many people for no good reason half of the time. How's the heart underneath the silence? How is the one drowning in the mire? Let us sound a human paean. Come in, the fire's warm. Burn the rope and dance some more. This is how we should all come together as a species to make the world a better place, to make sure no people are hurt or suffering. How we should all come together and just be friends and talk to each other and interact and not belittle, just understand and not judge at all, and just allow ourselves to all come together in some kind of beautiful way. Though that would never happen, as we as a species are very, very, very selfish. We met where the cliff greased the sea, shared a story, took the leap, rose up, rooted hidden out, you know where, you've been there. That's Floor joining the band. How when she joined them, it was like something connected and something became so very, very good between all of the bands. Now there is one who came for me, a child of lights, another tale. How Floor was being pregnant and how she was giving birth to her child and everything. That's just a homage to Floor, which is very, very cool. Nightwish paying their respects to Floor, how she's changed them as a band, how they've made the band come together more, and how everything works so very well between all of them now. Fair winds, my love, fly towards the calm, fly utterly lost towards a beating heart. And to end, we go with compassion and love towards everything, which is how we all should be as human beings. Most of us aren't that way. We are very, very judgmental, but towards race or creed or religion or wherever. But as human beings, we're one species, regardless of skin color, regardless of political, religious beliefs. We should all just be one pure act of good towards the whole of the human race. And if we manage to do that, we would become much better as a race, and we wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't need boundaries, we would just be one, and it would be beautiful and amazing. And yeah, it's just really, really beautiful. It just says so much about how we are as people, that we aren't the best we could possibly be towards everything, which is very, very true in the long run. We are going to be moving on to Procession, which is based on evolution. It's told either from the viewpoint as a conscious evolution or from the view of Mother Earth, like around us, viewing her creations and her creatures, and yeah, you'll see. Moving into the lyrics. A cradle earth, horizons unseen, new world in thirst for the arcane. We are singers of the gone, we remember as along came life, how evolution or Mother Earth, being an outside consciousness and is watching everything unfold around them. A cradle Earth, horizons unseen, birth of one, and a zillion sideshows. We are, we were, and will not be. We remember as along came Acorn. Evolution taking place from the birth of one single cell to zillions more becoming more, and remembering how nature came forth, how the trees began to form from that single acorn on the earth. Another birth, another moss green, new world in thirst for the unseen, an empty zoo, a starlight vigil, will have a visit as along came heartbeats. How everything was coming forth, how all of the plants, vegetation and nature is all coming forth. An empty zoo, the earth being a zoo as it has a ton of animals on the planet. As along came the very first heartbeat of an animal. Another birth, another monster, endless forms towards the stronger. Menagerie of a new world order. We held our breath as along came suffering. The endless forms obviously paying homage towards their previous album, which is very, very cool. It just means another birth of a creature, another monster, another creature that's very different and it is in a very, very different way. Endless new forms of creatures being birthed, many, many thousands of different creatures, many different variations along the same birthing breeds. Suffering came forth as carnivores came into existence and they began attacking and eating one another and not living peacefully. We remember Father Becaea gave the way as along came Sapien, the cradle earth welcoming its newborn, aeons since that very first acorn. As along came Sapien, as in like Homo sapien, as in humans, that's when humans came onto the planet. Aeons have passed since that very first acorn touched the earth and gave birth to nature. It shows how very little time we've spent on the planet and how much we've changed it in that period of time for the worst. Together now, in this timeless parade, the living lie, dead afraid. Then they saw the moon and found caring. We remember. As along came writing, this is just showing how humans have evolved. How we went from dead afraid, from not knowing where to be, from hunting animals and animals hunting us, up till we saw the moon and found that we care and try to care for a fellow person. And as we moved forwards in time and writing came along and we began to learn and become smarter. Birds were there, zoos dead again. After all, we should have never appeared. Spaceship Earth through the fields of time. They understood as along came wisdom. Many worlds and many other things as the planet suffered due to the advancement of the human race. Wisdom caused us to understand the damage that we were doing to the planet, and now we are trying to reverse the damage that we are doing to it. Though, not really, because there's still nature being torn down for no good reason other than paper. There's still animals dying and being wiped out for the sake of either just pure glory hunting or food or so on and such forth. We have been here a while at the end of Pi as along came harvest. We have been here a while at the end of Pi, harvest meaning death, as I already explained. And yeah, we will remember all the suffering. We wrote this in a tongue you will understand, words and melodies with a touch of colouring. We were there and will remember mankind, our kin, aeons ago. All of the suffering of the planet remembered through everything. It could be viewed via either Mother Earth's or via evolution's point of view, and how Mother Earth will always remember the shit that we've done to it, and the shit that every creature put on the planet has done to it, and it just completely explains everything completely perfectly. It's just the viewpoint from either Earth or from the viewpoint of evolution to show how we've come to be where we are, how we've brought suffering into the world, and how we've destroyed the planet in that sense, and how the planet will always remember the shit that we've done to it. We're going to move on to tribal. Tribal is based on religion. based on a hive mind, and all following one path, one faith, and so on and so forth. But I'll go more into it as we go into the lyrics. The lyrics aren't very long, but they are very, very important. 10,000 tales for the curious kind, bazaar of heavens for a hive mind. Many tales of religions and stories people have read over the lifespan of the human race and put into their belief systems for no good reason. How can religion be a thing if there's been so many of them, from the ancient Greeks to the ancient Egyptians to more modern Jewish or Christian or Muslim or whatever faith you choose to view? Abraham cut into three. Man found gods and began to preach how mankind found gods and began to preach about their gods, even though they had no legitimate proof that gods actually existed in the first place. Suffering loves faith, loves suffering. Smile to elders like a good dawn. Repent, accept. Separate yourself, suck the Oriet tongue. Suffering loves faith, and that faith loves suffering. Meaning that faith and God and religion only breed suffering, which is what all religions thrive off. Basically, if you don't believe in my faith, you are nothing to me. If you go away from my faith, you are nothing for me. This is how a lot of people are towards their religion. How there have been people who have gone against their parents' faith and lost their family completely. Been completely isolated and cut off and destroyed by the act of religion. It shows how religion is such a fucked up thing in the sense of the planet and in the sense of the human race in general. And it just shows that we as humans, when we choose to indoctrinate ourselves within religion, it's not always a good thing. Sing the praise of your creation. Bride prices, thought crimes, blind minds. The word hides, vivid monsters, to bed the tribal itch. You sing praise of your creation while at the same time you have crimes. You have thought crimes. How you can go to hell for thinking about things. You can go to hell for stupid things based on Christianity and all other kinds of religions just for thinking. Religion tries to control your every thought, your every process, your every moment on the earth. And the pages hide the monsters that we have become because of it. As religion is like a tribal aspect of humanity. Back in the days before we had modern society, we were all tribal and we were all like working as like a pack. Like imagine like a wolf pack but with humans. And that's what religion is trying to bring into the fold, and it's not really the best or anything that you'd really want in your life, because as it says, religion only breeds suffering, because it's true. Like, while religion tried to act like they're all good and all powerful and all better for humanity, you see the amount of people who have died because of religion, right? And because of people's thought crimes and because of crimes in general, and people saying they can get away with whatever they want because they can repent their sins and that kind of crazy shit. It's fucking insane, but that's religion for you. What more can I really say about it? We're going to move on to the final song, on to Endlessness. This is my favourite song off the entire album. Endlessness is pure fucking amazing. And it took me a little bit to figure out what the lyrics meant. It's not confusing once you figure it, but if you're trying to work out what it's a little bit tricky, man. It's about decomposition. The natural way of rebirthing into something new and of decomposition in general. So, we're going to go dive into the lyrics and I'll try my best to explain it to the best of my ability. Dust with a meaning, precious and rare. How the planet and everything was formed from space dust. How like small amounts of rocks and bigger kinds of rocks all came together and all created a gravity in order to make the planet to begin with. Someone in the tomorrow is waiting for me, someone to share the thief with. A way of saying that we share the thief, the decomposition for a period of our deaths. How a thief is just basic decomposition, how he takes and he creates and he takes from the dead and he makes new from it. I am the grass, the maggots and the dust. I am the several endings, the pain of the slow evil of an unsung life. The thief, or the decomposition, is part of all things that decay flesh and things. Maggots decay flesh, all of those things decay flesh, and humans and nature in general. and it is a part of that. The thief is the several endings. The way of everything dies in essence, and everything breaks down into different things and becomes new once again. Decades make them matter, myriad tales shall befall on you, before the even ballad of our stay. Live your life to the fullest, as we will all meet the thief, we will all decompose one day. An unscarred lance, unsung yarn, unborn child, await my touch, the luck of the draw. It's just saying that the thief, or the decomposition, can rebirth and bring things forth even more. Something yet unborn, a land untouched, and the luck of the draw coming into existence. As in when you're pregnant, there's millions of sperm cells going into the womb, and it's just by chance, by the thief's way of rebirth things from things that have dead in order to choose what comes alive and what does not come alive. It's all luck in essence. Soon beyond the field you've come to know, you will join the silent flow. Follow me, I am the spark at the end of everything. Everyone will rejoin the thief, or the decomposition at the end of our lives. The spark at the end of the life that rebirths into future things. Even when we die, we rebirth into different things. We become part of nature, we become part of the earth once again. And eventually we'll rebirth into something else, whether that be human or something else. Everything that goes into the earth decomposes, and it becomes something new entirely. Tip the reaper to ensure the blade is sharp. As soon as we all go, follow me into the dark, to the birth of everything. That the thief or the decomposition will take you to the reaper, to harvest, and you will go into the dark to be reborn into something entirely new. Which is exactly what this is about. It's about the way that nature goes, that we are born by luck. We go through our lives, and then we go to harvest, and then we go to the thief as we decompose and are reborn into something completely new, which is exactly how nature works. This is my favourite because, like, musically it's amazing, which I'm going to go into soon, but lyrically it's a fucking genius stroke. It's truly, truly amazing how it's written in such a way that, like, it literally views decomposition and the way of rebirth as a thief, because it is, because when people say people died too early, they had their lives stolen from them. So that process of nature is known as the thief, which is an extremely smart way of thinking about it. Tumas is a lyrical fucking genius, as we all know, and lyrically this song and this album is a fucking masterpiece. We go through all the forms of human nature, from nature to fucking social media, to imagination and dreams and everything else in between. It's just one of those things. It's a masterpiece. That's all I could really say about it. I've analysed it, I've tried to break it down to the best of my ability for you all, and in all honesty, it shows human nature in its truest form, and that's exactly how it needed to be. We as humans are not omnipotent, we're not special, we're just creatures on a massive ball of ground and water who survive based on pure luck of chance of the solar system being just for far enough and not too close to the sun that we can sustain life on this planet. Either way, those are the lyrics for Human Nature. They are beautiful and amazing, and we're going to move on to the musical parts now. I'm going to describe the music based on, and then give you my final overview thoughts and opinions based off the album. And it's going to be all good. I hope you guys are enjoying so far. I know this has been a very, very long breakdown, but the lyrics are so complicated that I had to take this long to break them down and to kind of explain them, to try to show what I got from it. You might not have the same thing from what I got from this album, but music is all based on imagination. You take from it what you will, and you break it down to what you think it means. And that's exactly how music works. And that's even described in this album in Pan. How imagination is subjective, and how we build new worlds inside of our head. We're going to move on into the music, into the actual whole musical aspect of Human Nature. For me, it's good, but it's a little bit lackluster compared to what they could have done. The composition is amazing, like the whole way that it's all composed and put together is very, very well done. But the whole, does it sound like Nightwish? Yes. Does it sound as technical as normal Nightwish sounds? No, it doesn't. It has a very different sound to it. It makes it, it grows a new type of album. It's more like a conceptual album. It's not really like a full, like, Nightwish album. It's like got more concepts built into it that isn't really fitting Nightwish's main theme as heavily as a lot of the other albums do, like Dark Passion, Play Once, all of those kinds of albums. Just listen to them, they have such amazing complexity built into their songs. This doesn't have it. This is a very lyrically focused album. This is all focused on lyrics, and even though it's focused on lyrics, it's not focused on vocal ability, as Floor is forced mostly to use her head voice and a lot of her operatic style, which is fine. Like, they don't really go into her darker tones as much, so they're not really utilising Floor to her fullest potential, and that's completely up to what you make of it. For me personally, I would have loved to see more of Floor's darker side, her growls, her really deep kind of vocals that she has, as Floor is a well-rounded singer. She can do every single style, and it honestly doesn't affect her that much. I understand why Tomas went for a much more visceral, higher head voice operatic style coming from Floor, as he much prefers to compose in that sense, and writing for like a much deeper style is a lot harder. It's a lot harder for Tomas, I imagine, and it works. Like, as an album, it works. Is it the best Nightwish album ever made ever? No. Is it the most lyrical album Nightwish has ever made? Yes, it is. The lyrics are so complex and so deep that they work as a complete conceptual album. Whereas if, like, I think Tomas needed another couple of months in order to get the music up to like a much more complexity level. Go listen to Poet and the Pendulum. If you don't believe me, go listen to that song and you'll understand how complex that song is compared to the whole of this album. I know I was going to compare this to like bands like Epica and Elena, and I can't do that because if I try to compare Nightwish to Epica, it's not fair on Nightwish, because Epica are going to bitch slap them out of the arena. It's literally not even going to be a fair fight at this point. This doesn't hold a candle to much of Epica in terms of its complexity. It holds a candle in terms of its writing style, but then again, Epica always have amazing writing, and this isn't about that band. So we're going to move back straight into Nightwish, and I'm going to go a little bit song by song and try to give a little bit of breakdown. We start with music, which is an instrumental for like the first half of the song. It slowly builds up into nature, and it goes into more tribal elements, where it goes, which I imagine to be more into animals, and the fourth of like evolution coming up further and further and further, until we go into those tribal sounds, which is the first human race uprising. And then as it switches into that more electronic sound, into that where it feels like it's more coming from space. That's more where the humans are evolving and becoming more focused on the stars and letting their imaginations run wild, and all of that good shit. And obviously I explain the lyrics for the rest of music. So music is just basically about nature. It's about the whole uprising of nature, from the grass and the trees upwards to animals and fish and humans and so on and such forth. Noise is honestly the odd one out in terms of the musical style. It doesn't really fit the rest of the album, but I think it's intentional because it's not meant to be that way, in terms of what Noise is about social media and how we're basically stuck behind screens most of the day rather than going out into nature and so on. So it's meant to be the odd one out in that sense, I imagine. It's the most headbangable song of all of the album. If you want a song that's there just for pure headbangableness, just for pure metal style, Noise will probably be your song, to be perfectly honest with you. Shoemaker is a folk ballad mixed with some heavier sides. It goes between like lighter folk elements and into that heavier style of music, which is what Nightwish is known for, along with obviously the orchestration behind it to give it that Nightwish edge. Honestly, Shoemaker is one of the most complex songs. in terms of lyrically, but musically, it just goes between two different elements and it just stays in between whichever one it's going towards. The song is all about lyrics. The song isn't really much about the music, but like I said, it's a conceptual lyrical album. It's not really meant to be a pure musical album. From what I can tell anyway, this sounds much more very lyrics focused, and I spent 47 minutes on the lyrics. I literally think it's going to be a pure lyrical album. Harvest is very folk intensive, as you can imagine. Harvest is about death, obviously, so the happier folk elements mixed with the darker, more sinister lyrics kind of go perfectly hand in hand, and works really, really well. And it really makes Troy come forth to the front and allows him to show off the way he can perform and the way he sings, and it just works really, really well. Troy being death, imagine that, man. The small English guy. But still. Pan is a very, very musically complex song. It goes between all of the different styles of Nightwish. It reminds me of Once or Elven Path, or like the first generation of Nightwish, you know, the very first iteration of like the first few albums of Nightwish, where it sounds very, very in that style. I love Pan. It's a very, very cool song. It's one of my favourites. It's not my actual favourite, but it's up there with my favourite songs. Lyrically, as you know, it's about imagination and about dreams, and it's about everything like that. It's just about good shit, and the way it's performed is amazing. Floor going into that very, very musical opera style, where she goes into that very fairy tale kind of like scheme at the very end of the song, just makes the whole song fit together very perfectly and very, very beautifully. How Is the Heart is folk mixed with a little bit of metal. Obviously, it's a very, very cool song. It's just awesome. I'm not really going to go into How's the Heart that much. It pretty much stands for itself, man. It's very lyric focused. That's the whole point of How's the Heart. It's pure fucking lyrics. The music is there just to hold the lyrics together, you know what I mean, so. Procession has an electronic opening, and then it builds upwards into the song. It's very much a ballad for most of the song until, if you notice, once we get to humans being born, the song picks up and gets much heavier, and that's exactly how it was intended. How everything was building until we as humans came forth, and then it explodes outwards into a full, heavier metal song, which is perfect and beautiful, and it works really, really, really well. Tribal, it reminds me of a Dark Passion Play song, of that era of Nightwish. It really reminds me of Dark Passion Play for some reason. It's the heaviest and darkest song out of every single song on the album, as it is about religion. And it has some weird things, like it has apes, and I imagine the ape sounds are there for the honest fact that it is about religion, and about people blindly following the religion as if they were just apes and just not able to understand basic human etiquette and just be following and throwing that shit at people, and you know what I mean, right? Because that's why I imagine they put the ape sound in the song. I don't know why exactly, but that's my kind of reasoning and thought behind it. And it just works really, really well, man. It's a very, very complex and a very, very beautiful song. The darkest by far. It's very, very heavy and very, very frightful. It's meant to be because religion is scary in terms of what the fuck it can achieve if you let it. And finally, Endlessness is my favourite song. I heard it instrumental first, accidentally, on the reaction. And then lyrically, it's beautiful. The thing that makes the song is the fact that it has such like normal Nightwish heaviness, and then it goes into this beautiful keyboard progression which sounds like pure space and like you're floating ever outwards, and that's exactly what was intended because it's about decomposition and death and rebirth and everything like that. With Marco not being typical Marco style, with him making his voice darker and deeper and just changed up a little bit, so it just sounds really, really sinister, and it works so well, and Marco's song is so amazing. Marco has the best song on this album by far, especially when he mixes with Floor on some of the parts, and it just works so well, like Marco's creepiness and Floor's highness, and it just merges together as one beautiful symphony, and it's just working so, so very well. As an album, it has very good musicality. Does it work as a Nightwish album? Kind of. it's underutilizing Floor because it's just forcing her to use head voice and operatic voice, and that's completely Tomas's choice, as he's the composer and writer and everything that he wanted to do with this album. And yeah, I think out of all, it's a lyrical masterpiece. It underutilized Floor. Musically, it's okay. It ain't the best. It ain't the most complex Nightwish has ever written in their lives, man. Go listen to any album besides this one, and you'll see how musically complex Nightwish can get. Does it work as a metal album? No. It's not really a metal album. It's a mixture of metal and folk. It's not really like how Dark Passion plays or how Once is. Go listen to the opening of the Once album and you'll see exactly what I mean. It's very, very powerful and heavy. Yeah, and yet it has very good lyrical themes, and it has very good everything built into it. I think, honestly, if they would have put a little bit of more time into the music, a little bit, it would have worked much better. I mean, to make it more metal, to make it more heavier, to make it not really headbangable, but just so it's got that oomph to it that it really needs to make it a pure metal album. As it goes between too many themes to be a pure metal album, it goes between too many folk elements and between too much classical elements, as some songs sound like they could be sang in an opera or a musical play, or things like that. Either way, for me, it isn't my favourite Nightwish album. It's my favourite lyrical Nightwish album, but let me ask you a question. When you listen to this album, do any of the songs get stuck in your head so that you can't get them out of your head? I listen to music about 8 to 10 hours every day, and I have music stuck into my head all the time, and not once have I had Nightwish stuck in my head, at least not this variation. I've had older Nightwish stuck in my head, but I haven't had like this generation Nightwish stuck into my head, and I think that's the problem. I think it's beautiful, it's lyrically diverse, it's a lyrical masterpiece, but it's not the kind of album that's going to stick into your head, and it's not going to stick with you through anything because it's just not written that way. It's more conceptual, it's more lyrical. You more have to analyse it and kind of make your own meaning from everything else. And that's the point that Tomas and Floor and Marco and everybody else was trying to make. This is an album based on yourself, based on human nature, based on us as people. For me, it works. It's just not the best they've ever released. And comparing it to any other band is not really going to help within the symphonic genre, as I'm pretty sure trying to compare this to Epica's 2017 album is going to be a slaughter for Nightwish, in all honesty. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this long review. It's taking me like a good hour plus to record it, as I've been pausing in places and things just to try to get everything how I want it. Now I got to spend about 3 hours editing, putting the lyrics on the screen and everything like that, and then you guys will see it. Sorry for the no reactions over the past day or two. I've just been working on trying to get this all sorted and analysed and out there, as I don't want to make you guys wait too long for this review. Either way, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, evening, afternoon or night, and I will catch you guys in the very, very next video. Until then, have a wonderful day. Take it easy.